And now to the business of the day, and without further ado, it's with much pleasure I call to the podium our Vice President, Catherine Baxter, to take over today's meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Catherine Baxter, one of the two Vice Presidents of our club. Can everyone hear me? Yep, terrific. My first duty this afternoon is a really exciting one. I'm going to present the Axel Award. The Axel Award trophy is designed to embody the hub of the Rotary Wheel. It was inaugurated in 2004 by past President Bob Glindeman. The award is made to a Rotarian who, during the year just gone, has given a little extra in service above self. That's why it's known as the Axel Award. The award is voted upon by the board and is presented as the Vice President's Encouragement Award. Rotary Melbourne is honoured to present the 2023 Axel Award to a selfless Rotarian for their accomplished service as a director across a broad range of club activities. They won't want the limelight, and receiving this award is everything this Rotarian does in Rotary, which is service above self. This year's Axel Award winner is presented to Marg Lesser. Professionally, Marg is a leadership and mentoring consultant. She was inducted into the club in 2019, sponsored by Stephanie Wallard, who she met on a cultural immersion with 7 women in Nepal. As a member of Rotary Club Board since July 2021, Marg has been custodian of the Governance and Sustainability Directorate. The club's environment and sustainability initiatives blossomed during this time, including tree planting, connecting with the City of Melbourne for its Green Line project, and our Environmental Day lunch. Marg is on the Rotary Park Committee, impacting the Peace Bells, fundraising, and actively preparing the park for Rotary International Convention. Her governance roles include engagement with the club's Audit and Risk Committee and participating in helping to establish the new Rotary Melbourne PBI. At the same time, Marg has chaired the Vocational Services Committee, facilitating a range of vocational services events and programs, including the Young Achiever Award. Marg is an active volunteer in the club's Make a House a Home project, building household kits to help rehouse those experiencing homelessness. She regularly assists in reception at club meetings, always available to be hands-on. Marg's commitment to serving in Rotary epitomises Rotary's ideal of service above self. As a thoughtful sounding board, and I thank you for that, Marg, on many occasions, she provides advice and diplomacy and mentors our young members with care and understanding. She is a passionate and big-hearted member. By her commitment to service above self, Marg is well and truly a worthy recipient of this award. Please put your hands again together for Marg.
I had no idea. There is absolutely. I guess really the motto of this year of Jennifer Jones, Imagine, probably sums up what I couldn't have imagined, which is how much Rotary does. It absolutely staggers me how much our club does, let alone the global organisation, and also how much we have responded to challenges and need for change. I've only joined Rotary along with COVID. So that's why I still know, sadly, I know a lot of faces and some names, and I am on reception so I can start to match them. And COVID really caused us also, didn't it, to imagine how we could reconfigure and how we could work differently. And for me, that's been the challenge of enjoying a club, getting to know people, and discovering the incredible range of things that Rotarians and Rotary do. And like Jim, it's the doing of stuff that interests me.
I'm honoured to speak to you today to update you on the wonderful achievements of Rotary Club of Melbourne. As Adrian mentioned, Peter is on his long-awaited journey to the top end of Australia and was hoping to join us via satellite phone, but I think the technology just probably wasn't up to it. Before I begin, I wanted to acknowledge the help that so many of the directors, club members and Joe provided in helping to collate all of the work that's going to be presented today. So a big thank you to all of you. It's been an extremely busy year. It's been an extremely busy year with many positive achievements. On your tables, you'll see a list capturing some, but not all, of the great work completed by RCM this year. Take a little look. Now, for those of you at home, we will be putting this into the newsletter, so you're not going to miss out. In fact, when you look at the list, and it's long, there's 3 pages of it, and the writing is pretty tiny, it was really hard to select down and provide an overview today of only a few things out of so many things that is such great work. So I could talk for hours, but we do have a deadline, so I've trimmed it down to 20 minutes. But a bit of a list of highlights to start with. I looked at this list and went, there's so many volunteering events that this club has been involved in and making a real difference. We've had excellent speakers at our lunches and continued involvement in significant projects that make a real difference in local and international communities. And I'm going to talk about some of those. We've also had the opportunity for fellowship, which is such an important part of the club. And we're going to also talk a little bit about the PBI, and John's going to help me out toward the end of it. And finally, of course, the successful Rotary International Convention. So I thought I'd spotlight a few of the different projects that have been underway. So we'll start with youth and vocational services. We can go to the next one, Joe. So the Vocational Services Committee has been very busy, and it's been an interesting year. The Young Achiever Awards, Monash Medal and Vocational Services Award were delivered successfully. The Police Mentoring Program continued as expected and received positive feedback from the mentees. Unfortunately, the Ambulance Mentoring Program is on hold due to a change in Ambulance Victoria's scheduled priorities. It still needs to determine if the program will continue. And in addition, these mentoring initiatives also established, though, a strong partnership with Rotary Club of Central Melbourne. However, the joint pilot program to expand the mentoring initiative wasn't successful due to a bit of a problem with software, but we'll work through that. The Arts Committee has organised excursions through the year through MSO, free concerts, the Architectural Walk, NGV masterpieces throughout the year. The Arts Committee's done some great work on Feeding Young Minds project and Hush Foundation projects. There's been a strong partnership established with the Royal Children's Hospital, Arts Therapy Project and RCM. The Feeding Young Minds project will continue to work with refugees. The committee's plan to deliver 2 short films and has applied for the next round of funding from City of Port Phillip. Reg is also assisting to organise a photo competition for the Hush Foundation. Hush provides musical services for hospitals in the interest of spreading a culture of kindness. We'll next move to the Welfare of the Young Committee. And you're going to hear me say this a bit. They've had a busy year. The committee continued to support youth-related district projects such as MUNA, RILA and RIPEN, and science experiences, and many scholarships were effectively delivered. You'll see a list on the table, so I'm not going to name them all. But what is really exciting is there's also 4 new projects that are underway. So the Yarraville Special Needs Playground, we contributed $20,000 of funds. The Guitars for Youth, a pilot program, is actually in progress. Badenoch Scholarship, which is study assistance for 2 school children, and the Lighthouse Kinship Model, which is funding assistance related to mental health training. So some wonderful work underway there. International Services has also had a busy year. The completion of the Philippines water projects is a highlight. The Water Sanitation Hygiene project to the Healthcare Centre has been fully completed, a massive undertaking. Pipelines to cluster stations, homes and the school were completed. Training of staff was completed and the project handed over to the community. A great success and is making a real difference for that community. The water projects in Baknaton, involving the provision of sky hydrants and elevated water tanks have been finalised and training of staff undertaken. The remaining task is the connection of both units to the water storage tank. Empowering youth in Cambodia. There have been 48 students selected to fund the costs of their education this year, and our club plans to contribute $10,000 to the associated costs. The Cambodia Scholarship Program, that's the program funding the scholarship costs of students to complete university degrees, is progressing really well. Our club this year contributed Australian dollars 3,000 toward the US dollars 3,000 cost of one student. Similar amounts are planned for the next 2 years. And the Centenary Project, UNICEF are continuing to roll out the vaccination program, and the final 23 global grants have been approved. What's really exciting is only US $70,000 remains to be sought from the total of US dollars 3.9 million, so it's really close. Finally, the PNG's piggery project has been abandoned, unfortunately, due to swine flu killing the pigs and significant civil unrest in the region where people have unfortunately lost their lives. So no money has been spent by our club, and the foundation advised that the grants approved there would not be taken up. We'll continue to monitor the situation and see if it resolves. But in the interim, available funds are being reviewed for potential reallocation to a Cambodian Rotaract student. In community services, the End Hepatitis Now. This project was initially focused on the delivery of awareness seminars across the Rotary district in face-to-face and online forums. At RICON, a breakfast session entitled Eliminate Viral Hepatitis Globally was held on Monday the 29th of May. Speakers included the CEO of Liverwell, Professor Ben Cowie of the Doherty Institute, Margaret Hellard of the Burnett Institute, and 2 lived experience speakers. Through leadership changes with Liverwell, the Victorian association that partners with Rotary Melbourne, the relationship is now entering into a phase where it will be involved in additional delivery of awareness programs and potentially funding equipment used in tracking and managing awareness campaigns. In dementia, this is an area where Rotary Melbourne is building significant assets in terms of relationship with Dementia Australia and PALZ. We have great interest to build robust mental health materials. And I've got a note, watch this space. More to come on this, I'm sure. Trachoma now. We continue to receive updates from this now national initiative and are liaising with the manufacturer of trailers in Victoria to receive additional resources, and I'll cover that more in the next slide. The relationship with Monash University is strong, and their participation in the design is really pivotal. For trauma recovery, the network has successfully trained several psychologists and is now embarking on a plan to significantly grow activities and access resources, which will enable it to train a larger cohort of practitioners. And you can see a picture there of the seniors' lunch. That was held on the 9th of November and much anticipated after the lockdowns. It was a great opportunity for fellowship and meeting members of our community less advantaged. The socially isolated elderly folk live in supported accommodation and have all had a difficult time due to financial challenges. Warren Johnson led a group of Rotarians and community members, 28 in total, including carers, that left Flemington and travelled to Max's restaurant in Red Hill Estate. To quote Warren, "The sun was shining and the temperature was perfect. A typical spring day in Melbourne. The feedback has been superb, and all in all, it was deemed a very successful event." I also want to acknowledge Bruce Davidson, our footy tipping coordinator. It's the footy tipping that actually assists in supporting the seniors trip with the finances, so well done. On to the next slide, an Trachoma project, just a little bit more detail. And we've got some pictures here of the trailer that's under construction. So after the successful delivery of 2 interactive water trailers for the Barkly region and Northern Territory, the 3rd water trailer construction is in progress. The factory is located in Geelong. However, the construction of the trailer has been delayed due to resource constraints. The main trailer mechanicals, as you can see, are complete. The tow bar, hydraulic brakes and four-wheel drive suspension and tyres are fitted, and there is still electrical work to go. Peter Rogers and Jim Orchard have visited the factory recently to inspect progress towards completion. At present, the completion date does remain challenged and yet to be determined due to staff shortages. And I think all of us in business at the moment can attest that it's pretty tough to get qualified staff. If we go to community welfare, make a house a home. A large number of boxes continue to be prepared and delivered to launch housing, and there's been great partnership with donations in kind. Many thanks to so many members that are participating, but I'll also hit you up, more volunteers are needed, and particularly for next financial year's shopping trip. So if you're interested, do let us know. We've also got a picture of the big issue, Big Sale. Funds raised by the club at that event were $1,500, and President Adrian and DG Amanda were selling items on the 29th of March at the corner of Little Collins and Swanson Street. And of course, I must mention Around the Bay, a magnificent long-standing annual event well supported by RCM. RCM's continued our association with the Smith family involvement in the event, and will continue to work with the Bicycle Network and Smith family on separate other projects as well next year. I also wanted to talk about Rotary Safe Families and the African Australia initiative in the community initiatives. The aim of this is to extend RCM's developed Safe Families literature to the Australian African community in relevant language and also cultural contextualisation. You can see a little snapshot of the picture of that on the bottom right. There's been great partnership between Rotary Club of Melbourne and Rotary Hawthorn. The leadership group of 6 includes 3 African board members, our own Ahmed Tohau, and members from Rotary Hawthorn and Rotary Kenya. Activities include the translation of Safe Families brochure into Swahili, a short film of 14 minutes in Swahili and English. And you might be asking yourself, why Swahili? Because it's a language used across 50% of the African continent. Several Rotary members are well connected with the African community in Victoria, and this translates for RCM to be able to play a pivotal role in assisting this community. The next steps for this are really exciting. Looking to identify Australian African local communities in 4 local areas around Melbourne and Shepparton to educate leaders and advocate through workshops. There'll also be a short film produced in English and Arabic, the other main language used across the African continent, to target younger African Australians, and a marketing campaign is going to be developed. There's also an aim to produce a newsletter for regular communication of issues. Partnership is being explored with Victoria Police Multicultural Unit that manages Indigenous family violence to see if there's value of directing some of the content of Safe Families to this community segment. And the partnership with other Rotary clubs to pool finances is also being explored. You can also see a picture top left of the Rotary Inner Melbourne Emergency Relief Network when our club volunteered there in January. So Ryman is a organisation supported by 14 Rotary clubs, including our own. They have a warehouse in Brunswick and are now using the whole of the warehouse and have their own truck. The premise of Ryman is they collect donated goods, second-hand goods, and place them in the warehouse and work with 22 relief agencies to provide those goods to refugees, asylum seekers, people in domestic violence situations, people coming out of prison that are being housed. And in this last 12 months, they have delivered 200 orders. They have delivered 10,551 items and helped 338 people, and that's so far this year. It really does make a difference, this particular group, and they're also looking for volunteers, so if you're interested, please sing out. They have made a real difference, and our club is a big supporter of Ryman. For sustainability and governance, the Sustainability Club continues to improve our environmental practices by reducing red meat consumption and offering hybrid meetings. We've achieved carbon neutrality by offsetting our 21-22 emissions of 8 tonnes of CO2 through the purchase of carbon social credits with one seed at a cost of $500. And they're continuing to work with the international team to develop the Rotary Club Carbon Calculator, which is now available online and also in Europe. The World Environment Day lunch was also held recently. This annual event is a partnership with SRAG and the City of Melbourne and was once again a great success with over 150 attendees. It highlights our club's leadership in this space and Rotary International's commitment. I thought it was wonderful at the event to see a number of schools represented, as well as a number of businesses. The Rotary Peace Park and Peace Bells with new signage has been installed, and that new signage is linked to the webpage providing details of the park and those commemorated by the trees. The Peace Bells became a significant heritage project for the convention at a total cost of $120,000. The 4 Peace Bells were launched by the Lord Mayor and will hopefully be approved to become a permanent structure. We can move to the next slide, please. I just wanted to also provide a few pictures of the fellowship activities that our club have undertaken. I actually struggled to try and trim it down to just a few. There were so many, but some great opportunities to have fellowship while at our club. Now I'm going to ask John Saunders to come up and talk about the PBI to provide us all an update.
Catherine told me she thought this talk of hers was a bit serious, so I'm now providing light relief. Can you imagine a lawyer talking about a legal issue providing light relief? A public benevolent institution, the PBI, is a charitable organisation whose main purpose is to relieve poverty, sickness, suffering or disability. It is legally recognised by the Australian Taxation Office and the Australian Charity and Not-for-Profit Commission as a charity. For those of you who are keen followers like I am of Rob Stitch's Utopia, this gives way to a number of acronyms. I can tell you that RCM is applying to the ACNC to establish a PBI. You will understand it all. By channeling our charitable and relief work through a PBI, we will be eligible for tax concessions and deductible gift receipt status. In other words, you can tax deduct a lot of the money you put into Rotary. This is particularly important as payments made to the PBI as the charitable operating arm of RCM will be tax deductible by those who make the payments. The PBI will enable RCM to channel virtually all of its charitable work through one entity, which will have accounting advantages and will simplify administration. In addition, a PBI can provide charitable work or relief simply by engaging with others to undertake activities on its behalf or be part of a collaborative relationship that is organised for or conducted for or promotes benevolent relief. For instance, this can be within the structure of related organisations with shared objectives. In this way, the PBI will give RCM much more flexibility in the way in which it can operate. Fortunately, today I had my reading glasses with me, so I was able to read easily the 3-page handout which is on all your tables, demonstrating the huge number of charitable activities that Rotary Melbourne is engaged in. I found it astounding. The only downside of a PBI is the amount of criteria we need to satisfy at various stages of the process. The application to the ACNC has required the completion of a 17-page questionnaire comprising no less than 59 questions. It equals the form that I had to fill out as a New Zealander in order to become an Australian citizen. It hasn't taken me 4 years to do the PBI questionnaire. It did take 4 years to complete the Australian citizenship. We've been advised by specialist lawyers that we have retained that we are likely to meet the criteria established by the ACNC. We've now reached the stage where all of the information required to be submitted to the ACNC has been established, and the documentation required to constitute the company that will constitute the PBI is ready to be signed. The proposed name of the company is Rotary Melbourne PBI Limited. It is proposed that ultimately the PBI will have 6 directors, but it will be established initially with 3 directors, President, President-elect, and the Treasurer. Once the company is established, nominations will be sought for a further 3 directors. These nominations will be open to club members, and we will be particularly looking for club members who have experience in operating a business. I expect to be able to report to you in about 6 weeks' time that the company has been established, the forms lodged with the ACNC, and then I'm told by Richard Dent, we'll wait, because it's a government department and they will have to consider the forms and ultimately give us approval. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And see, he was the light relief. So, in summary, a busy and very effective year. There's been so much good work, and I could only highlight a few of the great projects that have been undertaken. So please, if I didn't talk about the work that you've been doing, it's purely because of the volume, as you can see on the table. A big congratulations to President Adrian, a fantastic year, and a big congratulations to all of you. It's been a busy year and one that's made a real difference, both here in Melbourne, in Australia, and internationally. Well done. So I'd like to thank the directors and chairs for attending today, and visitors and guests for attending. A big thank you also to Ross Scholes-Robertson, our giver of thanks, MC Richard Dent, and our lunch and setup reception teams for their fantastic work in making this meeting happen. As always, if you can stay back for a few minutes to assist with pack-up, that would be really appreciated. A reminder that next week is the club's annual President's Changeover. We'll be meeting right here at number 35, although I think we're downstairs. And hope you and your partner will join us in celebrating the year of President Adrian and welcoming our 107th President, Chris.
Imagine when you're with Rotary. Yesterday was yesterday, tomorrow is real. So let's use today to make it a real deal. Imagine when you're with Rotary. Imagine when you're with Rotary. Imagine when you're with Rotary. We don't dream of yesterday, we dream of tomorrow, where in places of need we build hope, for our creed is the world shall heal. So shoulders to the wheel as we feel ourselves growing with our club, with a top thumping message. Dream up, think up, imagine, imagine, imagine.